So our next company to present is Wyld Networks. And with us, we have the CEO, Aleister Williamson. Welcome, Aleister, and please start your presentation.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And I'll take you through a few slides, if you don't mind. I'm just going to take you through a few slides going through, an introduction as to who we are, a bit of a business overview, a look at the markets, the financials, and a summary. But if I look at giving you a quick introduction as to what is Wyld Networks. So we were founded in 2016 in Cambridge in the UK. As of today, we have about 28 employees. That's the end of Q2. And we listed the company on the NASDAQ First North in July last year. We also put the company onto the OTCQB in May this year in the United States. But quite simply, what we do is we're a virtual satellite IoT operator, and we offer our customers the ability to connect their IoT sensors anywhere in the world using low Earth orbiting satellites. And we provide our customers with a low cost, low power solution, enhancing their return on investment. And the business model is relatively simple, that we generate a fee for hardware and we generate reoccurring revenues for the data service. And we're looking to launch this commercial service by the end of this year. So just to talk a bit about the business itself and what is the problem that we're solving. So today, only 15% of the world's surface has access to wireless networks. So only 15% of the world's surface has wireless coverage. The other 85% of the world's surface has no access to the internet. And it's this lack of global connectivity that's actually holding back the growth of the Internet of Things, or IoT networks, from adding about 2 to 3 trillion US dollars to global GDP over the next 10 years. So we've developed a solution called Wyld Connect, and it's an affordable wireless solution that allows our customers to connect their IoT devices and sensors anywhere in the world, in particular in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no wireless network. So we offer our customers the ability to connect their sensors via satellites anywhere in the world, providing a 100% global connectivity solution. So what does it look like? I think the diagram on the right-hand side is pretty self-explanatory, but there's 3 components to our offer. There's the Wyld Connect terminal, which is a terminal that's used to connect to existing IoT sensors on the ground. And also there's the Wyld Connect module, which is basically the electronics or the modem that can be integrated into new sensors. And basically Wyld Connect collects the data from sensors in the ground and sends that data up to the satellites, and the satellites send that data back down to Wyld Fusion. So Wyld Connect is a hardware product. The terminal's about $100. The module is about $40 a module. They're one-off sales. But Wyld Fusion, where we collect the data, that's our provisioning platform, and that's our payment platform. And that's where we provide the data to our customers. And that is the place where we generate our reoccurring revenues, because we charge our customers up to $5 per device per month. So just looking at some of the use cases. So, obviously considering we're sort of providing coverage in that 85% of the world's surface where there's no wireless connectivity today, the verticals we're working in are in agriculture, utilities, environment, energy, maritime, and supply chain logistics. But if I just take 2 use cases, in agriculture, companies are deploying sensors to measure the moisture within soil. So, some farms will have 4 sensors per acre, just looking at the content of water in the soil, so that when they irrigate, they don't over-irrigate, because in agriculture, 30% of the waste of water worldwide comes from agriculture. It also allows farmers to actually increase the yield of their crops. So they're growing more and they're reducing the waste of water by actually using soil moisture sensors. And we collect that data via low Earth orbiting satellites and then provide that data to farmers so they can actually reduce the amount of water and increase their yield. Another example use case I'll take is in energy, is in pipeline monitoring. So oil and gas companies, they've got pipelines in, millions of miles of pipelines in very remote areas. And they're looking at measuring corrosion on those pipelines. So they're looking at our solution to collect data to actually monitor the corrosion in pipelines to actually reduce the amount of oil that's spilled. So it's all about preventative maintenance, ensuring that the assets are in good working condition. So there's just two examples of use cases that we're actually selling our solution into, but there obviously are multiple other use cases. So in respect to where we are, I talked about us launching the full commercial service this year. At this moment in time, we're actually doing pilots. Some of them have concluded, some of them are in the phase of going through pilots, but we're doing pilots all over the world. And I think in over 20 countries, we're actually deploying the pilot network. We've signed up to about 25 launch partners, and predominantly we're focusing on North America, South America, Europe, Middle East, and next year we'll start to look at Asia Pac. So where are we in respect to customers? So here's a selection of some of the customers that we've already got purchase orders from. Companies such as Bayer, very, very large chemical and agricultural company. Eutelsat, probably the second largest satellite operator by revenue in the world. So we're already collecting purchase orders ahead of the launch of the service. And these purchase orders are probably in excess of 30 million krona to date. And that's just for the Wyld Connect device. We will then, once we launch the service, we'll be charging up to $5 per device for actually using the network. And to give you an idea of some of the other customers that we're going through pilots with, companies like Syngenta, Chevron in oil and gas, American Tires in Latin America, Senate in the United States, which is the largest LoRa terrestrial provider in the US, DEWA, which is the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, so that's an application in utilities, KWS, which is in the agricultural sector. So we have over 20 companies that are in the process of going through the pilots or have gone through the pilots, or we're now starting pilots with. And once the pilots are concluded, we're then negotiating contracts to get purchase orders to start to deliver Wyld Connect solutions to them. So just a bit on the financials. As I say, we're launching the commercial network this year. But in March, we started to go out and get orders for Wyld Connect. That's the hardware component of what we're selling. We've built the order backlog up to over 30 million krona to date, and we will be adding more orders to that as we work our way up to the launch. So to give you an idea of what does that mean in respect to number of bits of hardware, how many Wyld Connect modules does that represent? So that represents about 92,000 modules ordered so far to date, which equates to the 30 odd million krona. But obviously that order backlog at this point in time doesn't actually include the up to $5 per device per month. That revenue comes in when these 92,000 units are actually deployed in the field and we've actually launched the service. But just to give you an idea of what that means is, once we've deployed these 92,000 units that we already have orders for in the future, then basically that would represent on a monthly basis about 4.6 million krona a month in revenue just for that 92,000 units. But obviously we're building more orders and we're looking to be supplying substantially more than 92,000 units going forward. And just to give you an idea on the size of the market. So The total addressable market's about $5.9 billion US dollars, and our view on what our addressable market, that's the market that we're going after, is about 670 million US dollars by 2025. So we're going after about 11.3 million, 11.3% of the size of that 5.9 billion market. So we believe that we have the ability to get to the position where we can take just over 11% of the market. Now, our view of what does that mean in respect to the number of units that are going to be shipped by 2025. So we believe the market, total market, is about 250 million devices. So that would be 250 million Wyld Connect devices that are going to be shipped. And then on top of that, obviously, there's the up to $5 per month in revenue, reoccurring revenue for operating the network. So hopefully that gives you a view of the size of the market that we're actually addressing. Now, in summary, I just wanted to sort of highlight some of the key things about Wyld. We're solving a real world problem here. You know, we're providing our customers with 100% global connectivity for their Internet of Things devices and sensors, whereas currently today, they only have the ability to connect devices in about 15% of the world's surface. We're offering a 100% global connectivity solution, solving a real problem. We have a reoccurring revenue model, as I talked about. That's the $5 or up to $5 per month per device. We've got multiple agreements with very significant launch partners, and we're already getting purchase orders for the devices ahead of the launch of the service. And we're going through the process of getting more purchase orders and purchase orders for the data service when we launch the solution. We've secured patents and we've secured our trademarks. And as I said in the previous slide, this is a significant market opportunity. It's a very new market and it's a very emerging and growing market. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Alastair. Very interesting. I thought we should start off with talking about the competitive landscape. Could you describe it, and also who do you view as your closest competitor and why?
So if I look at the competitive landscape, today you can go to a satellite provider and buy a satellite IoT service. However, those providers use geostationary satellites 36,000 kilometers up in the sky, where we're using low Earth orbiting satellites that are only 700 kilometers up in the sky. They're using very expensive spectrum, so they have to pay for the spectrum to provide the service. So it's a very, very very expensive service. So what we've done is we've basically taken the cost out of that by using low Earth orbiting satellites and actually using a technology called LoRaWAN, which operates in the free-to-use spectrum. So we don't have to pay a license to actually use that spectrum. So we've provided an affordable solution for our customers so they can get a return on investment on their business. In respect to who do I think is the closest competitor to us, well, there's Swarm in the US, slightly different application. They just currently got acquired by SpaceX. There's Lacuna in the UK, and there's a couple of others that are looking to launch a service in the future.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned in your presentation that you will launch your products this year. What are the dependencies on the launch, and how many LEO satellites do you expect to have access to when launching?
So currently there's 2 LEO satellites up there, and there's the ones we're testing with one of them at the moment, doing our pilots. We're expecting there to be another 2 launches of satellites this year. And so we will have the ability to offer our customers 4 passes per day. So we can send 4 chunks of data every day to those low Earth orbiting satellites. The plan moving forwards is that further satellites will be launched up to 24, and that will then allow us to offer our customers collection of data once every hour.
Yeah, and the use cases you mentioned in your presentation, how many LEO satellites do you need access to in order to cover them?
For the use cases that we're currently addressing, then just 4 satellites. So they're looking for about 4 messages per day. And so that's the amount of data they're actually looking for. As we start to get into more complex use cases, then customers are looking for up to 8 to 12 messages per day. So we're going to start addressing, what we're addressing at the moment is the use cases that fit with the satellite coverage we currently have at the moment. There'll be more launches of satellites moving forward, and then we will move into more data-hungry use cases as those satellites get launched.
Yeah. And what will be an example of those data-hungry use cases?
Supply chain logistics. As you can imagine, they're looking for data probably 8 to 10 times a day. Other complex or other use cases could be in remote monitoring of maritime engines. So we're in discussion with various companies such as Volvo to look at how we would actually integrate our sensor into their maritime engines. So those are the use cases that require greater data, but the use cases we're focusing on the moment are truly in agriculture, oil and gas, the environment, and they are use cases that we can deliver a service with the 4 satellites that will be launched.
Okay. So your business model would be a combination of project-based sales coming from the hardware and then recurring revenue from the data and the software. When do you expect the revenues from the recurring revenues from the software and data to actually be larger than the revenues coming from the hardware?
That's a great question. Excellent question. So obviously the data revenues start when the commercial service is launched, and they will build up over time. But we do believe that the real potential in this company is those reoccurring revenues, because those reoccurring revenues will more than exceed the sales of the hardware over a period of time. And I suspect that period of time is somewhere close to about 18 months from the launch of the commercial service, where we'll start to see more revenues or greater revenues in the data piece than in the hardware piece. So you could look at us a bit like a mobile phone operator, where the hardware is basically your mobile phone, and you're paying $40 a month or whatever it is for your contract. Obviously, at a certain point in time, the recurring revenue, the monthly contract revenue, exceeds the hardware revenue.
So let's talk a little bit about the financial position. I read your report yesterday, your Q2 report, and you had a cash position of close to 19 million SEK by then. And you also have 2 warrants out in the market right now with subscription periods in December this year and in May next year, if I'm not mistaken. These cash injection from the warrants combined with the current cash position, how far do you think that will take you? And what is your thoughts on further growth capital?
So our view is really very simple. The warrant program was put into place to inject cash into the company at specific times, as you said, December this year, and then next year, I believe it's March, April time, or May time, I apologize, when the 3rd warrant program comes into place. But to answer your question simply, we're not looking at raising additional capital. We basically have put the warrant program in place to provide us with the funding that will take us through to profitability.
Okay. Lastly, what is your key message to current investors and potential investors listening in right now?
I think the key message is, understand what our business is. Understand that we're a virtual satellite network operator. We're providing hardware, but we're also providing service. And that's the key to understand how this company will move forward. It's those reoccurring revenues that will actually drive the company to significant profitability. I think the other message I want to get over to current shareholders and potential new shareholders are, we're solving a really unique problem. We're providing 100% global connectivity for the Internet of Things. And the applications that our solution is being used for is also very much focused on sustainability. So in agriculture, how we're reducing the waste of water, how we're increasing the yield of crops. In oil and gas, it's how do we maintain pipelines to ensure oil is not being spilled. So there's a real environmental and sustainable position that our solution addresses.
Okay, thank you very much, Alastair, and best of luck in the future.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.